Grip socks are great, and now they're even better with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Better fit, moisture wicking, amazing comfort, and all the extra grip you need. Choose from 10 different colors for just $16.99 a pair at puregripsocks.com.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of the annual SR4U Boot Awards, highlighting the best and worst in football boots of 2021. Of course, I'm going to be sharing my picks and reasoning with you, but as always, you're encouraged to share your own picks for all of these awards down in the comment section. If you guys enjoy the Boot Awards and want to see them continue, make sure you like this video for the third and final part. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Not all awards are good ones, and in the case of the "oh my gosh, you completely ruined these football boots" award, there was one clear winner for 2021, and unfortunately, that winner is the Puma King Platinum 21, a football boot that replaced one that stuck around for a number of years and saw a tremendous amount of hype when Neymar made the jump from Nike to Puma, choosing to wear the Puma King Platinum. Of course, that hype was short-lived, and eventually nobody cared about the Puma King Platinum again. But in 2021, we saw its replacement in a football boot that changes just about everything and made just about everything worse. The kangaroo leather upper is realistically the stiffest one out of any football boot from any brand. It is simply just not good, which I don't think I've ever said about a kangaroo leather upper. The fit of this boot is awkward, they're bulky, they're chunky, they lack flexibility, which admittedly does get better after some break-in time. Leather will always soften up, but the way they reinforce the leather with this internal cage as well as the lining material simply does not feel good at all. The heel liner features unnecessary gimmicks that are not going to wear well long term, and the sole plate end stud pattern is heavier and quite simply worse than what we had on the previous generation King Platinum. For $200, this is a football boot that I wouldn't just stay away from, I would run in the other direction. The majority of the angry comments I get on this channel typically come when I review takedown model football boots, and the reason for this is, unlike top-end models where the vast majority of them tend to be pretty good and any criticism is fairly minor, when it comes to takedown models, the spectrum of good and bad is quite significant, and there are simply some takedown models that are not worth your money in a category of football boots where value for money is obviously the main focus. You want to get the best possible product for the least amount of money possible. That's why you're buying a takedown model. And in 2021, there were two in particular that I cannot separate as being the best, so they're both going to win, and that is the Nike Tiempo Legend 9 Pro and the Puma Ultra 2.3. What I think is so great about the Tiempo Legend 9 Pro is not just the lower price tag over the Elite model, but the fact that it feels so much like the Elite model. The leather is calfskin rather than kangaroo leather, and the heel liner is a little bit less premium in just being the synthetic leather material, and I believe technically the sole plate does utilize a different plastic, but if you had a blindfold on and had these on your feet, you would have a hard time telling them apart from the top-end model that retails for significantly more money. Once the leather is broken in and softens up, it's really difficult to tell a difference between this and the slightly more premium kangaroo leather of the Elite model. And if you're looking for a top-end experience from a pair of football boots at a takedown model price, the Legend 9 Pro does that exceptionally well. The Puma Ultra 2.3, however, doesn't necessarily feel quite like the top-end Ultra 1.3, even though it does have the exact same sole plate and stud pattern, which is unheard of for a takedown model speed boot, making this ridiculously lightweight, lighter than most top-end speed boots on offer from big brands like Nike and Adidas. But the upper on this football boot, again, while technically not the same as the top-end model, is very similar to what was previously seen on the Puma Ultra 1.1 and 1.2, last generation's top-end version, at this year's takedown model price. This is a top-end speed boot at a takedown model price tag. There's no other way to put it. And if you're looking for the best value for money in the speed category, nothing even comes close to the Ultra 2.3. Now, I want to be clear in saying that overrated does not mean bad, because the boots that I've picked here are certainly far from being bad. In fact, I think they're very good. But in the case of talking about a football boot or a product being overrated, whether it's because of the brand or the reputation or the cool looks they might have, a technology people are interested in, there is typically a reason why they're popular that isn't necessarily justified on them being the best product for the money or just the best product in terms of your other options out there, which is why, and I've thought about this for a long time, I tried to pick something else, but I kept circling back to this in my head. The most overrated football boot of 2021 is the current generation Nike Mercurial series, whether it's the Vapor 14 Elite that I'm holding right here or the Superfly 8 Elite, which is basically the same boot with a mid-cut collar. I think in 2021, unlike past years where the Mercurial series is always a no-brainer, and you can still make the argument that it is. These are, again, excellent football boots in almost every single way. I think the competition from Adidas and Puma in particular really makes it a much tougher choice to just automatically pick a pair of Mercurials. The Puma Ultra 1.3 and both the X-Speed Flow Plus N.1 are so good that I think you have to consider your other options rather than just going with the Mercurial like you always do. And it's, again, not to say that this is a bad choice in 2021, but if you're talking about a pair of football boots that a lot of people have purchased simply based on the reputation of the Mercurial series and haven't even considered what other brands are doing, you might be missing out on a pair of speed boots that you might actually like better. Again, probably the most overrated football boot of 2021, depending on your opinion, but definitely not a bad pair of boots. When it comes to underrated football boots, similar to overrated ones, it's kind of the same reasons that make them underrated, whether it's the brand, the reputation, the looks, the lack of perceived technology. There's a bunch of different reasons as to why a very good product can kind of fly under the radar amongst the majority of consumers. But for 2021, while I think there were quite a few really underrated football boots, there's one in particular that I think definitely did not get the credit it deserves, and that is the New Balance Furon 6 Plus Pro. In a world of football boots, especially in the speed category, where there are so many incredible options from Nike, Adidas, Puma, even Mizuno if you want to throw them in there, the New Balance Furon 6 Plus Pro is on the same level when it comes to fit, comfort, and overall performance as all of those options from the much bigger and more popular brands. And of course, New Balance is not a small brand in the sportswear industry, but when you're talking about football boots, they're certainly not the most popular. They've made some marketing pushes with the Furon line between Sadio Mane and Raheem Sterling in 2021, but still, this is a football boot that a lot of people don't even give a look simply based on the fact that it's New Balance. And granted, they've had a rocky history in the football boot industry, and it wasn't even until very recently that the Furon line was borderline wearable, because I think it was rough for a number of years and a number of generations. But as it is right now, especially if you can find these on sale, these are some incredible football boots that I think a lot of people would enjoy if they decided to give them the chance. Now, this prestigious award highlights a pair of football boots that nobody cared about. There's not a lot to say because nobody cared. And of course, that boot is the Nike Phantom GT2, a football boot that even Nike couldn't be bothered to promote upon its day of release, where they had so much hype around the Nike Tiempo Legend 9, and then basically the day after they unveiled those, in a random blackout pack, they introduced the Phantom GT2 without anybody really noticing, and not even to blame the general public, because the Phantom GT2 is effectively the same thing as the GT1 with some new graphics and generative texture that is even more generic than it was previously, offering no difference in fit, no difference in feel, no difference in performance, no difference in price, and really no difference anywhere because it's effectively the exact same football boot with a 2 at the end that nobody cared about. Not a bad product, but my goodness, probably the most boring Nike football boot release of all time. I think it's safe to say that the words limited edition don't hold the same weight in the football boot world as they once did, mainly based on the fact that it seems like there's more limited edition releases than there are general releases these days. With that said, in 2021, there were a lot of really good limited edition releases, but I think there's one in particular that stands out in my mind. Again, this is one where I think everyone's gonna have their own very specific opinion on what they think the winner should be, but for me, the winner of this award comes in a suitcase. The Messi El Retorno Adidas X Speedflow 0.1. Not only was this a sneak peek at the eventual release of the X Speedflow series, it was also Messi returning to the speed boot category, with Adidas deciding to kill off the Nemesis series that I think, looking back, was a bit of a fail from a sales perspective, but it's also a colorway tribute of a super random pair of F50.7 Tunics that Messi didn't even actually wear. He wore a modified F30 version that Adidas paid tribute to on the right boot by actually putting the takedown model F30 logo. And it's of course a colorway of a football boot that he scored an incredible Maradona-esque goal in. To me, this is a football boot with the presentation that just screams Leo Messi. It stands out from the crowd. It's so obscure, but so cool at the same time. The boots look incredible. The Speedflow 0.1 in general is an incredible pair of football boots. And as far as limited edition releases go, this to me is just super exciting. When it comes to picking out a new pair of football boots, budget is everything. If you don't care about how much they cost and you have the money to spend, then I guess you're not really factoring the different price ranges that are out there. But if you have X amount of dollars to spend and you're looking to get the best possible product, that's where the value for money discussion starts to happen. And I think in 2021, there were some really great value for money options. The Tiempo Legend 9 Pro, being so similar to that Elite model, obviously is in the discussion. The Nike Premier 2 and 3, that was a late 2021 release, are again great value for money options at around 110 bucks. But for me, the winner of this category is a pair of football boots that, as a takedown model, offers everything that you would expect and technically get from a top-end football boot at a takedown model price, which is why the winner is the Puma Ultra 2.3, bearing a retail price of 130 bucks. It features the exact same sole plate and stud pattern as the top-end Ultra, making this ridiculously lightweight, very close to that top-end model and lighter than what you're gonna find from the current generation Mercurials and X Speedflows, which is incredibly impressive. They're very comfortable football boots. The upper feels a lot like the previous generation Puma Ultra 1.2, which was the top-end model. And again, for the money, it is unheard of to have a football boot that feels this good. It doesn't even look like a takedown model. This is simply the best value out there right now, especially if you're on the market for a pair of speed boots. A trend that almost every brand seemed to be following this year were remake football boots, bringing back the classics, the football boots that everyone has these fond memories of, and then giving them to you again at ridiculously high prices that almost nobody can afford. Pricing aside, I was really happy to see a bunch of these football boots come back for the first time in a long time, and I don't want to get accused of recency bias here because my pick is a remake that did come out fairly recently towards the end of 2021, but for me, the best remake of the year was the Adidas Predator Pulse, specifically in the Legends pack because the blue and pink ones just weren't my cup of tea. Nonetheless, the reason why I have this as the best remake is, once again, Adidas nailed it in terms of giving you pretty much a one-to-one remake of the OG Predator Pulse upper with the kangaroo leather upper, the fold-over flap tongue, the elastic strap, the Predator elements, the synthetic material through the midfoot wrapping underneath that works so well with the split sole design of the modern Predator sole plate. Other than not including the original sole plate, it's as close to the OG as you can possibly get. And with this newer sole plate, the overall weight of the boot is reduced significantly when compared to the original. The Predator Pulse for me is one of my all-time favorite Predators, and I think here in remake form, it really shows how good this design is, because unlike some remakes where They show their age when you actually get them on feet, as exciting as they may be. This feels like a legitimately wearable pair of football boots in 2021. If you were a fan of the Predator series, I think even at $350, these might actually be worth it. It's a lot of money for a pair of boots, but they're very, very special. I think the most exciting aspect of new football boots releasing is this idea of what can they do that we haven't seen before. A new concept is something that I think people can get super excited about. And in 2021, there were some interesting concepts introduced into the football boot world, but none more interesting than, in my opinion, the winner of this award, the Adidas Pred Cop X. Very strange name, very cool concept. Something that I've heard people talk about so many times before is combining a bunch of different football boots into one. This Frankenstein concept where everybody wants to combine boots to create the ultimate football boot. And Adidas actually gave us that in the Pred Cop X by combining the upper of the Copa Sense Point 1, the Predator elements or the demon skin spikes from the Predator Freak series, and the Speed Frame sole plate and stud pattern from the X Speed Flow line, all in one football boot that in theory should be kind of the ultimate that Adidas has on offer. And while I really like these at first, over time and upon further reflection, I have to admit that I'm not that crazy about the Copa Sense Point 1 base for the upper of this football boot. They're just not as comfortable as I would like them to be, but the concept I have to applaud Adidas for because it's just so cool. The colorway, I think, leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think it's the best looking football boot by a long shot, but in general, I love this concept. I'd love to see it more from Adidas, and I'd love to see other brands kind of implement this same idea and try to make the best possible football boot by combining all of the brand's best technologies and elements in one. This is so cool. I'd love to see more of it.